Hey, Rob. Wow. That's let's go. I told the picture out. We should switch to the first rule is we should pay. And then I'm like, go talk. I can show you pictures. Get it straight. Although sometimes we should do something else. Oh, wow. Yeah. I seriously think that was like something like it's hold on. Yeah. Yep, I'm live. Yep.
Good evening, everyone. So exciting. What a great turnout. Let's get a My name is Joanna Carmona. I am part of the Bridges Democratic Club, as well as in part A of the district. But we did host this together as district leaders for Assembly District 37. Here's Eddie Letow. You have some words.
Yes, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. A nice evening to join us here and meet the candidates. And I hope you enjoyed the little program we have and the little refreshment later. And let's get to it.
My co-district leader, Taman Lama, and we're in part A of the 37 districts.
All right, thank you, everyone. Then let's listen them. What is going on? Then what we have to do. Then I'm from Nepal. I'm the first deputy district leader in the Comedy Club. Thank you, everyone. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias.
Before we start, I do want to acknowledge a couple of people that are here. Our former Assemblywoman, Kathy Nolan. We actually have a Court of Claims judge here, Gary Murat. And I also want to give a shout out and a really heartfelt thank you to our sponsors, including the Ridgewood Times, the Central Queens Independent Democrats, who are live streaming this, so thank you. The Queens Forward Democratic Club, the Powhatan Democratic Club, the Camden Democratic Club, and the West Queens Independent Democratic Club. I really appreciate that because we're all coming together, even as we're all Queens, we're so diverse, but it really is great to be in a room with all of us, especially during this time. So thank you also, Maria, for facilitating. Thank you for doing the live stream. Okay, I also wanted to give kind of a rundown. Before we start, I do want to acknowledge Father Mike Lopez, who is here. He'll have the floor for a couple of minutes, but I do wanted to also introduce our moderators, Diana Reyna.
Yes.
Diana is a dear friend, but she's also former Deputy Borough President of Brooklyn, as well as a former City Councilwoman in District 22. The first 34. 34, I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me. Also, the first Dominican woman to serve on the In addition to that, Diana is really tied to this community. During her time at the council, she really fought for families and against gun violence. So this Richmond has become a better place because of all the work that Diana has done, not only as a former borough president and deputy borough president, but as a councilwoman. So thank you for taking this invitation and being a moderator tonight. Our second moderator is Rod Townsend. He is the former president of the famous Stonewall Democratic Club, and he is a former city council candidate for District 22. And Rod currently runs a custom luxury furniture manufacturing business here in Bridgewood and is active in local, state, and national politics. I do want to give some space to our other district leader, Nadine Rivera-Brown. She also brought the food too, so shout out to Nadine. Thank you. I always forget my political brother, Antonio Alfonso, district leader as well. So I'm just going to give everyone a rundown of how this is going to go. So each candidate is going to have 3 minutes to do an introduction. After that, there will be 6 questions provided by the moderators. There will be 2 minutes for response, 30-second rebuttal. And then afterwards, we'll be doing a lightning round. And then afterwards, we are going to be reading some of the questions that were provided by the public that, again, any index card to be available there. But for now, if Father Mike, if you don't mind saying a couple words, if you mind.
20 minutes? Father Mike Lopez. I'm a Benedictine Anglican priest here in the community, and I'm a candidate for the Democratic. Just kidding, I got kicked off. I was disqualified on my Democratic run for city council. So I'm here to say tonight, officially for the first time, that our campaign is looking at our other options, but not only were we disqualified by the board, but I also have the pleasure of being contested and sued by these 3 fine men. So thank you all. I look forward to the race. I'm not going to spend much time politicizing myself. I'm going to tell a quick story about Diana Reyna that she doesn't remember. 25 years ago, when I made my first community event at St. Bridget's Church in Ridgewood, Bushwick border, we needed pizza, and a politician promised us pizza. It was a youth event to get youth together in the community. And nothing happened. Father Kelly, Monsignor Jim Kelly, if anybody knows who he is, he's a legend in the community. He said, this young girl, she's a new politician, she's definitely hungry, she'll give you pizza. And we called Diana Reyna's office, and she gave us pizza. So I want to say to you, thank you for being a wonderful human being. I've had an excellent time entering into this kind of scenario and learning about how this all works. I'm really not a politician. I never really had political desire, but when I saw who was running on the other side, I got excited. And I said, we need to turn and make sure we stop her. So I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for your time. Stay engaged, stay active. As far as me and my work, I'll continue to stay in the communities, working with homelessness and food insecurity and other issues in our community. I just might make an independent run. We never know. Anything can happen. But either way, gentlemen, I wish you the best of luck. Have fun. Do not call me. Stop calling me and begging me for endorsements. I do not endorse any of you. Good night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Really quick, I do want to acknowledge Mike McGuire, who's here. He's retired. I did shuffle to see who would start. So the first candidate speaking will be Paul, then it will be Phil, and then Dermot. And sorry guys. So you have 3 minutes. I will give you a 1-minute warning, okay, and then I will give you a 10-second warning.
Is it just an introduction?
Yeah.
That's it. All right, so thank you everyone for coming out here tonight. So it's done. So,
Yeah.
Joanna? Yes, thank you. So thank you everyone for coming out here tonight. It's Friday night. I know there's a lot more places to be, but this is obviously exciting for everyone. So I appreciate seeing all these faces out here. I'm a guy from Middle Village. I moved here with my family in 2017. I got involved in the community after selling my business in 2022. We started seeing a lot of issues around the neighborhood that needed pressing help, and working with like local electeds and going around the neighborhood, you start seeing that if we bound together as a community, that you can actually start achieving great things. In between that, I became a homeschool dad after the pandemic. My kids fell behind in math and reading, like a lot of kids are right now. I was afforded the ability to actually take my kids out of school and homeschool them for a couple of years. During the homeschool process, I was able to take my kids to all the local civic associations. We went to Ridgewood Civic, Glendale Civic Association, did some comment meetings online, Middle Village Property Owners, Juniper Park Civic, and most importantly, the Community Board 5, where we started learning more and more about like what's actually goes into local government, how you guys or how Community Board 5 is actually an advisory board, and then we started going to other community boards. So we did this as a participation in government with my kids. And that was the main thing that started to drive us into that driver's seat of trying to make better things happen in the neighborhood. So we started with the Middle Village Roller Hockey League. We actually got involved with Eileen Maloney, and she showed us like the ins and outs of actually pulling permits and getting involved with the local legislators. And we were lucky enough to actually have over 120 kids from a little project from people just volunteering and power washing the rink. From there, I wandered into a Middle Village Property Owners meeting. They were about to defunct the organization. I stepped up. I was able to get the organization back active, and it's now a current 501c4. And on top of that, I became a chaplain at the VFW 551 post when my neighbor became the commanding officer, and my grandfather served in World War II for the United States of America. He was on the front lines in the D-Day invasion, in the invasion of Normandy, and I'm very honored to be a chaplain at the VFW 551, and I appreciate everyone being out here tonight, and God bless all of you.
Yes. Okay, I will have to locate myself for a couple of seconds here. Hi. It's great to be here, and thank you all for coming. Usually we'll have plans on Friday nights, so thank you all for coming. My name is Phil Wang. I've been a resident of Elmhurst, Queens since 1976. I came from Hong Kong. I had to learn my English here. I have to learn my Chinese here. Really. So, my grandparents, I think ones of no language. I attended weekend Chinese, so I learned to speak Chinese, several dialects, and I learned my English. So I went to I attended public schools here. I have three daughters. They all attended public schools here in District 24. While they were in public schools, I learned I could make a difference. So I signed up to be in the Community Education Council, CEC 24. I was there for 4 years, and out of the 4, I was president for 2 years. So I really great to make a difference to contribute to the community. Let's go back before I got involved with the school board. What started it was in 2014 when de Blasio shut down a hotel and then moved 650 people there overnight, and it became a homeless shelter. Now, my backyard window faces the Pan Am window. I get to see them every day and really going through, and after a while I realized it's a business. They're keeping people in the shelters. They're not helping them to get out of the system. And we're still seeing that today. So how did I get involved? Next day, they came in the middle of the night. 10 seconds, I'm sorry. Okay, so I got involved with the community boards. I got involved in Juniper Civic, and then I was hired by Councilman Robert Holden, and then to be the project director and liaison. Okay, and then he asked me to run, and I got his endorsement, and I'm really a pleasure to be here. And I'll take questions later. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I guess there's an exciting election going on in the district. So my name is Dermot Smith. Many of you in this room know who I am. I've been around this community for 33 years. I've worked in the labor movement for 25 years, 16 with the United Federation. Yes. So it would be It would be remiss of me if I didn't shout out some labor people. I see CSA down there in the back of the room. Michael Plyer, who is a legend in the union world in New York City. So thank you for coming here as well tonight. Fine. If there's any other union people here in the room, just shout out. So good. Today has been a big day for my campaign. We had several endorsements that we rolled out, including Labor Strong. The reality is 100% of the unions that have endorsed in the Democratic primary have endorsed my campaign. Now, those endorsements matter. Some people say, well, what does it mean? So for you in the community who are coming out and trying to understand who these candidates are, pay attention to the validations that they have. Pay attention to who's validating. So if, because of my union background and all of the union support I have, the union people are your neighbors. They're your moms, your dads, your brothers, your sisters, your sons, your daughters. I have from the sanitation to the CSA to the UFT. So we live in the communities, and those unions will never endorse somebody who isn't going to best represent their members, not only in the job site, but where they live. We have two other candidates here in the race. Pay attention to where the endorsements are coming from. We're going to answer a lot of questions tonight about a lot of the issues that are facing the district. But one of the things that should never go unsaid, one of the roles that I played in the union, is I would screen candidates for many years. And you have to pay it. People will present themselves in whatever way they think is going to get their vote. Paul has lived in this community for some time. He's talked about all the things he's done. He doesn't have a single endorsement in this community from any civic group or elected leader. I know Phil does. Phil just got endorsed, I believe, last night by Curtis Leewell. So Phil's getting up some endorsement. But pay attention to the candidates that are running and who has your best interest. Looking forward to the debate tonight. Looking forward to all your questions and getting
All right, let's begin.
Okay.
All right. The 30th Council District is covered by the 104th, the 110th, and the 112th precincts. Most recently, this week, the 104th precinct had a 19-year-old shot and killed on George Street outside of IS 77. This is the second homicide in the precinct and 10 shootings to date reported, higher than last year. There are growing community concerns for quality of life and public safety. What efforts will you focus on to retain, increase, and recruit into the NYPD to support public safety initiatives and help address quality of life issues?
Thank you, Dan. That's a great question, and it's one of the.
You have 2 minutes to answer the question.
I will try. 2 minutes is still for an Irishman. I want to also shout out our former Assembly member, Kathy Nolan. It's great to be here. The quality of life issues are the single biggest issue in this community and in New York City. It's the thing I hear most on the doors. It's the thing I hear from most of the unions that I sit with. The police officers right now, NYPD is at the lowest number of officers in their department in almost 25 years. So one of the things that I want to do when I get elected to the city council, if I'm fortunate enough to represent you, because of the years of experience I have and the support I have, I will be put on the leadership of city council government. So this district will have a leader in city council government if I'm elected. One of the things I've pledged to the police department is I'm going to work with the new speaker, the new leadership, and the new mayor to make sure we bring those numbers up in the NYPD from the lowest level they're at now to where they should be. That's going to take a tremendous effort on all our parts and the leadership of the city council and the government. But we have to address other issues. We have to address the gun violence in the city. I know IS 77 very well. It's a tragedy that happened there. I'm going to work. Oh, sorry, I'm running out of time. I'm going to work with all the stakeholders involved to make sure that our quality of life issues are addressed on a granular level, and also making sure that each community and there's multiple communities in this district, that each one has the staff, each of the precincts have the staffing levels that they need. By the way, none of the 3 precincts are anything close to the staffing levels that they need. So you'll have an aggressive leader in city council to make sure that that's addressed and that we start looking at the granular levels within each community to address these quality of life issues. But the first thing we need is more police on the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil?
The 18-year-old that got shot as named Kevin Fernandez. I was in front of that house yesterday, 1728 George Street. The reason I was there is simple. I was at the school board meeting there a couple of nights ago, IS 77. And I was there many times over the past 4 or 5 years because I was serving in the Community Education Council. I have to visit these schools. We take for granted there will be school safety agents there or crossing guards, but those people are simply not there anymore because they were defunded a couple of years ago. Now they're at a skeletal staff, and I feel strongly that if we had the school safety agents there, we had the crossing guards there, we wouldn't have this tragedy, right? And it's sad. And then whatever the reason was a terrible way to waste a life, and it happened across the street from the school. Now, Councilman Holden is very strong on public safety, and I myself is a very strong on public safety. When I was at CEC, I protested in City Hall. I fought to restore the school safety agents. We have some of them got hired back, but we still don't have that full budget that we lost a couple of years ago. So I'm going to fight for that. We feel that without the safe schools, we're not going to have safe neighborhoods.
So regarding public safety, we want to hire more police officers in the district. We actually have situations where response times are over an hour. You call the police, there's just not enough availability with the police cars we have. We have one car for every district. That's Glendale, Middle Village, Maspeth, and Ridgewood for the 104th precinct. And you have the 112 and the 110th, and we only have a piece of those. So the issue is we need to actually increase the prevailing wage. If we get more police officers, we could actually get into a situation where we could reduce the amount of overtime, which would actually help out the budget. So that's one aspect that we could work on. The second aspect that we can work on is working on a mental health task force, which has been talked about and floated around. And that's something that I believe in. That would actually reduce a lot of the burden on the NYPD to actually respond to every call that's coming in. So one of the things that we did with the Middle Village Property Owners and Residents Association is we actually meet with the 104th precinct. They come to our meetings and we humanize them to the public. So the public is made aware that these are men and women that are looking to go back to their families at the end of the night. They're putting their lives on the line for us. They're making sure that we're safe and sound and we go to sleep properly at nighttime. So there's a lot of other things. We have street safety that we need to work on. We have, people that get hit by cars. We have a cyclist that we just hit the other day. So there's a lot of different aspects that I think ultimately, if we could actually get people from the neighborhood to have a prevailing wage, that they can actually live in the neighborhood that they're representing. And I think that's one of the issues that we're running into as well, is that a lot of our cops don't live in the neighborhood anymore. They can't afford to live here. I think they're in the same situation that we're all in, where it's an affordability crisis. So the NYPD, a lot of the officers live in Long Island, they live out of district. I feel like if we had officers and first responders that were able to live in our district, they would have more of a connection with the community as well. So prevailing wage is huge. And then with the budget crisis that we do have, I think bringing down, hiring more officers, you reduce the amount of overtime, you get more people out there to actually take care of us. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Paul. And I'm sorry, so, and we live in the neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So we're going to go into the second category, transportation bike lanes. I'm going to start with Phil. Vision Zero was supposed to help reduce the speed of vehicular traffic and reduce pedestrian fatalities per the site crash mapper. In just the last 2 years, there have been 1,266 crashes in District 30, resulting in 15 fatalities, including 2 people on bikes, 104 people walking, and 1,654 injuries, including 165 people riding bikes and 273 people walking. What is your view on making our streets safer for everyone, and how would you accomplish it?
Yeah, well, bike lanes is a problem citywide. It's not a district-specific problem. And I think a lot of it has to do with the people, the administrators at DOT. They came out with a one-size-fits-all plan and said, all right, we're going to have bike lanes in citywide. The problem is that we have streets here that's much narrower compared with the neighborhoods next door. We cannot, we can have bike lanes in some streets, but we cannot have bike lanes in this side of the streets. Can't do that. It has to have the residents here that have to say on which street should have bike lanes and which street should not have bike lanes. That's important. And unfortunately, the district never given the opportunity. Just like come in with even on neighborhoods that are not utilized at all. We have bike lanes that is not utilized, but they were put in there by force, right? And the problem is, second problem is that we have bike lanes that's now used by motorcycles, mopeds, e-bikes. No, they're not supposed to be there. They're supposed to be cyclists, okay? And they are the ones that are abusing the lanes. They don't follow traffic lights. They don't follow stop signs, traffic devices. And that is the problem here. And they get into accidents and we don't even know who they are because we don't keep track of these mopeds, e-bikes. And that's why Councilman Holden proposed a bill. We got to keep track of them because we got to hold them accountable. Because after an accident, we don't even know where they go. We don't even know what they are. And then we got to bring back safety and training is a big issue. We got to train them. We have to tell them follow the traffic lights. It's not just for cars, right? And that's important. And unfortunately, we have as more migrants come in. They are the ones that's abusing this more and more and more, and we see that. And then there are now more pedestrian e-bike accidents than car accidents in our district. And we're here, but thank you.
So, biking is one of the things around the neighborhood that I think is important. I think the way that the traffic patterns are now, and the lights are linked up, we have congestion everywhere. So biking has become more and more prevalent in the city. If you go to Europe, it's like one of the main modes of transportation. Last night I was fortunate enough to actually fly with the Ridgewood Rise team, and you can actually see it firsthand that the bike lanes are inadequate for actually doing a loop of anything. We're actually getting around the city in an efficient manner and a safe manner. So being so many young people in the community, bikes is a huge thing that we actually we worry about. So last week, when I went over it earlier, but like a gentleman was hit on a bike by an FDNY truck. He was making a turn, and the cyclist was going past, and he was hit, struck, and unfortunately passed. And this is the types of things we want to try to avoid in our community, because the original reports is that it was a 50-year-old kid. Not that it's better that it was a 50-year-old person that passed away, but it's still everyone's heart in the whole neighborhood sunk. Everyone was calling from everywhere that they were all worried about their children or one of the kids from the neighbor getting hit. And like ultimately, like if we don't have street safety, if we don't have bike safety, then we're going to wind up having more and more of these situations where people are getting hit. One of the objects that are on the table right now is daylighting that is the city council is looking into, and that's actually taking away some of the parking spots at the end of the block, so you get more sight lines when you're coming to the corners. On my corner, there's every corner as you pull up to it, there's usually a setback, and then some places you have it all the way up to the corner. So when the cars are parked completely up to the corner, you get into a situation where you can't see nothing, and then if a cyclist is coming through, they're going to get hit. So daylighting is something I think we could do more studies on. We could see exactly like where the numbers are. I know it's a diametrically opposed issue because Middle Village is very pro-car and Ridgewood is very pro-bike and getting around. But on the same note, Ridgewood also supports their local businesses. Their main streets are more vibrant. And that's one of the things that why the community is so strong. So cycling is a great way to see the neighborhood and get around and actually like be involved more in the community. And I would like to support more biking efforts.
Hi, thank you. The bike lane issue is an issue not only here in this district, but it's across the city. You have some people very for it, very pro bike lane, and some people very. Bike lanes are important. People cycle, especially here in Ridgewood. The issue that's become problematic with bike lanes is that they're not used by pedal bikes anymore. They've been taken over by electrical bikes. They've been taken over by mopeds. I see them all through Middle Village. I see them around the city. What we have to do, we can't say that bike lanes are bad because they've taken them over. We have to regulate the electrical bikes. We have to regulate the mopeds so that people can get back out on their bicycles and cycle through the different neighborhoods. Now, there's ways of protecting a bike lane. We see it a lot in Manhattan. But you move the parking on the wider streets, you move the parking out from the curb, and you put the bike lane in in between the two of them. If the street is wide enough, then that gives the cyclist a level of protection that otherwise is not there. But we do have to find a way of blending the two. The other thing that I said earlier that's important, the district, each council district is made up of many different neighborhoods. There are parts of this district that the overwhelming majority of people, it seems, have no interest in bike lanes encroaching into their areas, of certain areas of their community. So we have to listen to them and figure out how we can best sell that idea to them. I've spoken to many residents here in Ridgewood, a tremendous number of Ridgewood have went there. And there are people who want safer bike lanes on very narrow streets. So we have to work with the Department of Transportation, which I'll make sure I do when I get in there, to find ways where we can get these safe bike lanes where possible, protected bike lanes, so the cyclists feel safe, and the community isn't negatively impacted. We don't take away the parking zones where possible. Sorry, Emma. Thank you.
This is a 1 minute follow-up question. You're gonna have 1 minute to respond to this. How will you work with community residents specifically to support the safe expansion of city bikes throughout the district and work alongside community preferences for location sites to achieve last mile transportation services? We're gonna start with Paul.
So the city bike locations, we would have to work with the community boards and find like beneficial locations that actually will allow to actually have a city bike there without impacting the traffic or the sidewalk. So I know like some of these bike locations have gone in and the community board has approved it, and then they wind up putting them in front of like driveways. So we need to be a little more vigilant, like where we're going to put city bikes. Also, we're selling off public land, like we're doing that to as well, or leasing it out to them. So I think that's also important that money's going back into the community and hopefully into the community that it's actually taking up the parking spaces from with the city bikes. And the second part of the question, sir?
Working alongside community preferences for location sites to achieve last mile transportation.
Oh, and then last mile transportation is just like, small storefronts for like, Amazon and different like Uber, delivery services. So yeah, that would actually help out with like a lot of the main streets because that would take up some of the storefronts that are vacant right now. And you would have like a larger truck that would come in there at nighttime, deliver the bulk goods. And then the smaller vehicles, whether it be pedal bike or whatever, would actually deliver to the final mile destinations. That's actually a great program.
Dermot,
What's the first part of that question?
how will you work with community residents to support the safe expansion of city bike throughout the district?
One of the biggest issues with city bike, I think we'll all agree, is the location where they put them. They very often put them outside businesses, taking up wide swaths of parking. Now, whether you're pro car or anti car, businesses need commuters to be able to come and go to their business. So we don't need city bike racks on commercial streets. Impacting the small business owners. So we have to be able to work with the community board, and the residents of certain blocks, the areas where we're looking to put those racks, to make sure that it doesn't impact them in a negative way. A lot of people have their own bikes. They take the bikes home. City bike racks take up a tremendous amount of space, and if we don't work with the community to find an acceptable location for them, then there's going to be a problem. One of the areas, there's areas outside park areas that can be often used for bike rides. There's areas outside schools where they have playground areas that can be used for bike rides. Sometimes there's not a lot of thought put into where they put them, and that causes a tremendous amount of disruption in the community. So we need to take a little more nuance. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, this is a 1 minute question. Bill, same.
Councilman Holden's office get phone calls all the time that we have whole racks of bikes unused. They were put there, nobody knew about them, and then the bikes are left there days at a time. Nobody uses it. So I dig a little deeper. And the reason they were there is because of a contract that the city has with City Bike. And the contract says it has to have a certain number of these racks per square mile. And that is wrong because it's not based on demand. So right now we're dealing with residents calling, hey, you have all these bikes in front of my house. They haven't been touched. They haven't been taking what's going on. So we got to take a look at the contract and have a new look. The community board should have a say on where to put the racks are. And right now it's just that is what the contract says, the density. Fulfill the density, and then it's okay. And it's not okay because we have so much waste, unused bikes lying around in racks in neighborhoods that they don't want. And that's wrong.
Next category, immigration. What is your stance on immigration issues as they affect the city, including your thoughts on sanctuary city status, in providing services to migrants and cooperating with federal officials? How will you engage our federal, state, and city officials to provide real-time status of immigration matters in your district?
I'll start first. Yeah. Okay. I'm an immigrant and I love this country, right? And most of us are immigrants. Really concerned in the sense that the city is spending $6.5 billion for the past 3 years. That the money is taken away from our schools, our libraries, our parks, our senior centers to house the migrants. Right? We are spending city resources to fight a federal immigration problem, and that is very wrong. This common sense will tell us that this is a federal issue. Washington has to help, and if Washington does not help, we gotta really have to take a look. Why are we shaving money? I'm the budget director. I know money's taken away from the parks. It's taken away from sanitation. We have fewer police officers. We have fewer parks cleaners, and just to pay for the migrants, and that is wrong. Now, how do we work with them? Well, that's why there's so many lawsuits are going on. Okay, but then let the courts figure out, because whether sanctuary city is something that's legal is being challenged, right? So there's no easy answer to this, but we should not spend city resources to combat a federal immigration problem.
My wife is actually from Lithuania, so she's actually an immigrant. So she's right off the boat in America. So like, but she came through a legal method. But at that point, though, the people that are coming here for asylum seeking for the most part. They're actually looking to do work in the community. They need to get fast track to actually get to work. I mean, that's the most important thing. So through our efforts, like with the Middle Village Property Owners and the Middle Village Roller Hockey League, we have a lot of people that are here on different statuses that are here for asylum, and they're actually working in the community. We're ingratiating ourselves to them. They're ingratiating themselves to us. So we're actually working side by side with them. They're actually cleaning up the neighborhood with us. They're involved in the hockey league. Some of my best supporters are actually some of my immigrant families that are here seeking asylum. Now you got a situation where people are just being mass deported down to El Salvador, and they're here for due process, and they're actually being void of that in American country. They're coming here for a better life. This is no different than everybody in this room. At some point or another, your family came here and you were trying to make a better life, whether it was digging ditches, building bridges, or laying foundations. So, you know, my grandparents on both sides, fortunately, were born in this country, but they were subject to many different racial stereotypes, being the first ones in the country. And like, you know, we all went through it at some point or another. And it's more important to actually know these stories and actually know what goes into, you know, what it means to actually get ahead in the country that you're coming into, and you're trying to make a better life for yourself. So we could all say, like, let's support everybody. Let's not give them no services, but that is so un-American. And like, the biggest thing that we could do is we could find a way to actually achieve a balance with these people. And like, they are helping in a lot of different ways around the community. They want to be involved in the community. They need to be fast tracked to work. And if they're working and they're paying taxes, they're able to support themselves. You'll help out with the affordability crisis because they are getting vouchers or apartments because they're not able to work. So, you know, the apartments have gone up in value tremendously because the vouchers are coming in at a higher rate than the market value. So like, an apartment that normally would be $2,100 or $2,200, a one bedroom voucher is actually $2,700 right now. So that's actually increasing the rent roll for everybody. Thank you.
One of the hot issues right now, not only here in New York City, but around the country. This is a nation of immigrants. I love that we still have the big Statue of Liberty over there. I grew up in Ireland. I was born here to two Irish immigrant parents who met here. When I was a few weeks old, 6 weeks old, I moved back to Ireland. When I came over in the 1980s, it was thousands of Irish. They came over here, worked very often in the shadows, without any proper pay. We still have thousands upon thousands of immigrants in this country that came over in the 90s and the early 2000s who don't have a path to citizenship, especially after 9/11. They really curtail how easy it is to become a citizen. When my dad came here in the 1950s, you had a 7-year path where you could become a citizen, and then you could get a city job. So because he wanted to get a city job, he decided to join the army, did his 4 years in the Army, went through a process, but there is no process. So while it's a hot topic issue, because of what happened in the last couple of years with the city getting overrun, and that was a political ploy by some southern states to do that, we have to address the issue here. We have to be able to house them. We have to be able to take care of the people that are already here. And there is a due process. This is a nation of laws. But we also have to recognize that if we had, you know, those staple red buttons that you can just press and imagine anything we want to happen can happen. If everybody who wants to come to the United States was suddenly allowed to come, would we all say yes? The reality is no. We put a filter system in, we put a set of criteria, and there is a path to coming into this country legally. So that we have to address that. The reason it's become a problem is because we don't take care of the ones that are here to give them a path to becoming a citizen and being able to work out of the shadows. They pay taxes. They're a part of this society. They're a part of this country. They're our neighbors. And very often they work in the jobs that the businesses that we frequent. So there is a way of getting to this. There is a solution to this. It needs a city council that's going to put its hands around this and take charge of it and make it happen. And I hope I'll be one of those to do that for you. Okay.
You may have heard in my introduction, I work in a custom luxury furniture company. We make it right here in Ridgewood. My manufacturing business was priced out of Long Island City, but we found a good home here. This is a district with large areas of manufacturing districts. What is your number one idea to support manufacturing in the district? And how will you advocate to preserve the industrial business zone and retain industrial jobs?
Okay, great question. One of the things that we have to do is make sure that our business areas, our industrial areas are vibrant. We have to welcome businesses in, and if New York City can create some tax breaks, whatever invitations to put them to come in, thrive here, we should be able to do that. I will work with our organizations around the city to do whatever I can to bring more businesses into the city. Our industrial areas are very often neglected and not the most inviting places for people to come. And we also have to be able to give them breaks on the massive rents that are there. The local business that makes furniture, there should be lots of them in New York City, and I'll be a big enthusiastic supporter of promoting and advocating for local businesses here in Queens and around New York City. And by the way, some of the greatest craftspeople that come into this city that are able to set up local businesses are some of the people that come from other countries. Not that our New Yorkers can't do it, but there are people in this city that bring a lot of skill and talent in, and I'll be a big enthusiastic supporter of that. Thank you.
No, let's take it to
Ooh.
All right. Okay, but yeah. Ridgewood has a very vibrant manufacturing area and been there for decades to support it. And what's threatening it right now is actually the city of Yes. And the developer. So I if you Yes come buy up the whole block and then demolish it and turn it into apartment buildings without consulting your councilman, without consulting community board, without consulting Europe under the name affordable housing. They're not building any affordable housing. It's market value housing. There's no mandate to build affordable housing. Don't believe it. And I'm proud to be a plaintiff with another 110 civic associations. We have to stop this madness. This is madness. This is madness, right? Zoning works to protect manufacturing. We need to protect the M1 zones and M2 zones in Ridgewood, and that's exactly what I'm going to do when I'm.
What do you call manufacturing actually is really important right now, especially with the Trump tariffs. So with the Trump tariffs, it's another affordability crisis that everyone's dealing with, even though it's on the federal level, on the local level, though, actually bringing people in to actually open up factories, opening up manufacturing locations around this area will actually help with the job market. Will bring more people in to live in the area. They'll be able to afford to live in the area. I ran a small business in this neighborhood from 2007. We moved into the Metropolitan Mall till I sold it in 2022. And it is difficult to make a living in this town. So if you're going to be a small business owner, you're going to be one of the people that are going to make the change in the neighborhood. You're the one that's going to hire people locally. Everyone that works in my company, they all worked for me They were all from the neighborhood. They were from Ridgewood, from Bushwick, from Middle Village, from Maspeth. So those were the people that were working for me. On top of that, you also have a situation where if you bring in these jobs and, more people will be able to pay taxes, apartments will be able to afford them, and then you'll get into a situation where hopefully the affordability crisis will get cut down a little bit. And in manufacturing, that's a great job that anyone from the community, especially like entering the country, could actually, get into that right away with a little bit of job skills and be able to work right away. Thank you.
They're just taking care of us. We're gonna move into, oh wait. Oh, wait, sorry. We're going to move into education. We're going to start with. I'll give it with you. Let's see. So we're going to start with this. How does each candidate plan to audit and hold accountable legislatively the Department of Education to ensure it is meeting and excelling the classroom instruction per grade at every school in your district? Are we getting the best bang for our buck at DOE?
First, I'm the only candidate in this room that send all their kids to public schools, and I'm proud of the public schools. Now, my opponent send their kids to parochial schools or homeschool. So I want to emphasize that. Now, yes, the education system needs work, and they're trying to fix it with small class size, and there's funding to hire more teachers. But the problem now is space. Do we have the space for all the new teachers? And the answer is no. No, right? So I myself sat in the Community Education Council. We deal with this all the time. And surprisingly, in Ridgewood, we have some schools that's under enrollment. There's actually space. So it's up to the school board, it's up to the superintendent, which I work with very closely, that we have to move some kids over or expand enrollment to schools that are now under enrolled. So that is a very active thing that DOE is doing, and I work with the current CECs, the superintendents, and I'm ready on day one. But what's also important is that boots on the ground is important. As councilmen, you got to talk to the teachers, the parents. Knowing the needs of the schools is important, and it's not about a back office or you make phone calls and you stay in the back. No, we can't do that. You're not going to be able to do your job just by sitting in the desk, right? So it involves engagement with kids, with parents, and I know how to do that, and I will be doing that day one when I'm elected. Thank you. Thank you.
So the New York City public school system is actually the largest public school system in the entire United States. Just to correct one aspect, I was a homeschool dad. I put my kids actually in Catholic school, but I wasn't given the opportunity to have all three of my kids accepted back into my local school that I went to. So I went to PS 49. My kids started in here. I wanted to start I made a conscious effort to move into this neighborhood in 2014. So my son was born in 2012. He's back there filming me, and he's been involved in this whole process. So in 2014, we started looking for a house in this neighborhood. And we moved here in 2017. We finally located something that would be a suitable home for us. And then we were the price point per student in the New York City public school system is $37,000. I believe it's 33% of the entire New York City budget. Half the kids are not at grade level reading or academic levels. This is what we ran into. This is why I homeschool. The schooling system did fail us during COVID. We were out of school for 2 years. My middle son, he entered kindergarten and got a Zoom teacher, second grade Zoom teacher. And then we wound up where if we could have put him back in school, we would have wound up in a situation where he would have either been pushed through, most likely he would have been pushed through, or he would have actually failed out of school. So that's when me and my wife took the initiative. We homeschooled them. So now they're back in school. They're all on the dean's list, honor roll. My son just made National Junior Honor Society. So this is like a big effort. So it's one thing that, like, when you want to actually get involved in the put your efforts into things, you can actually achieve what you're looking to achieve. And I wanted my children to have that best situation of education. I wish that more families had that opportunity. Right now, we need to seek how we're going to work on the rest of the school population. We're in a situation where half these kids are, I might have said it, half the kids are not even at grade level reading or academic levels. I actually volunteered at the Evander Child School up in the Bronx doing the robotics lab up there. I was really friendly with the administrator up there. It turned out that these kids were in 10th grade and they weren't even at a second grade reading level, which is a travesty, and that's a failure on all of us. So let's work on universal aftercare. Let's work on getting summer programs to get these kids to maybe on a reading level. They're not going to have a chance in life. If we just get them there and help them, they're not going to have a chance in life. And honestly, that's a huge travesty. God, we have to work on it. We're going to be judged by our kids.
I've worked in the educational space now for 25 years. I'm senior teacher in ISI. Our public schools, not only the public school system here is not only the largest public school system in the country, it's also one of the finest. When Phil is talking about the class size, just so you understand what's going on, our state legislator passed a law that said that the city had several years in which they had to hit benchmarks to reduce the size of the students in the class. In some classes, we have over 40 students in the class. We're not going to have it down to 25. Is there space in the city to do it? Yes, there's going to be, because it put the requirement on the city of New York to finally start building more classrooms, to start building more schools. We have in this district some of the most overcrowded schools. We don't have the schools that have an abundance of space. But we've built several schools over the last year, and we're going to continue to do that. And the reason that's so important is, if you go to the most exclusive private schools in this city, they have less than 15 students in a classroom. The impact on a student when you have a teacher ratio that small, the student thrives in that environment. That's why I have the support of the CSA, the principals, the assistant principals, and the educators across this city, because they want me to be a representative and a leader in this city on the educational front, which will also tremendously impact this district. We're going to take a microscopic look at every school in the district and the budget. Rob talked about are the schools getting a fair shake in the budget? The school budget, the DOE budget, is enormous. It's enormous. And just a surface look at that, you can tell where the waste is. There's a tremendous amount of outside contractors that the Department of Education uses every year. Most of the money in the Department of Education should be targeted to the classroom, should be targeted to the students. And the way we do that is by taking a look at the budget and changing the way they do business. There's an awful lot of outside contractors that are brought into the Department of Education that we don't need. Those are jobs that can be done from curriculum jobs that can be done by. Oh, I ran out of time. I'm sorry. But yes, I can promise you, as an educator who's in this space for 25 years, one of my priorities, not only in this district, but in this city, is making this school system.
We're going to ask everyone to hold your applause. The president is being live feed. The clapping is muffling the sound, and so we want to hold off applause till the end. Thank you.
We're going to talk about political activity. I'm going to start with you, Paul. We're a Democratic club, so we would be remiss if we didn't ask you about your involvement in political activity. In 2024, we saw a shift in New York City toward Trump throughout the city, especially here in District 30. In the current day, the party is rebuilding and refining its message. How will you help not only to amplify the Democratic message locally, but flip House and Senate seats in 2026? Please answer with specific actions.
All right. So, what do you call my political? Coming into this, I'm a grassroots guy. So the only thing I could do is lead by example. So when I got involved in this, I started getting in touch with like local elected, and I started working with them, and that's how I got more and more involved with the Democratic Party. So the Democratic Party, it was Joey Dabo, it was Bob Holden, it was Andrew Hevesy, and it was Grace Mang, and then Nydia Velasquez, and I wound up working with all of them on different aspects around the neighborhood. And that's when I started seeing more and more of like what the Democratic values are. The only way that I could try to do it on my end is like to try to do it by example. And that's all I could do. It's like I'll go out there, forefront. I'm a grassroots guy. I'm a guy that came into this with no outside backing, as my opponent so blatantly told everyone. But we could also look into the amount of funding that this gentleman has gotten, and that's the actual reason why I decided to run. So if you go through it, he's gotten $77,000. Only 6% of that is in the district. And, when the phone rings, I just want to know who he's going to answer to. Is it going to be to the people that gave him all this money or to the people that's sitting in this room?
Perfect timing. Thank you. Yes, there's a requirement in New York City that you get 75 people in the district to donate to you. That's the benchmark. We hit a little bit over that because we don't want to be asking the residents of this district to fund this campaign. So I haven't. I'll ask you for your votes. The donations I got from across the city, I'm not ashamed of a single one of them. Who will I answer to? The workers in this city, the workers in this district. Political involvement has been part of my life since I came to this country. Paul brought me up. Do you know Paul has lived in this district for 8 years and he's never, I looked at his card in October of 2024 when he announced the campaign. He's never voted, not one election, not one primary, not one general election. I looked at his card in Long Island. In 20 years, he's voted 4 times. There is no political involvement with Paul. Paul is in this for his own self, his own sake, nothing else. It's not about the community. I have the endorsement of Joe Adamo, Grace Ming, Tom Swazi, the Queens County Democratic Party, because of the involvement I have had in New York City. I can promise this district, I can promise the residents of this district that I will bring my skill sets to work for this district and for the city. I'll be a leading voice in the city, for the district, and for the entire government of New York. I'm here to lift this city up. I'm a Democrat, and I'm running against a couple of Republicans. I own the fact that I'm a Democrat, and I'm proud of that. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to win this district back. So thank you.
Thank you. After every defeat, it's very hard to look yourself in the mirror. Like, what is wrong here? Why are people voting the other way? And it's hard to admit that people vote because the things are going wrong, when the districts are falling apart. Kids move out, parents move out and don't come back. Right? Taxes keep going up and there's no improvement. So where's the money going? All right. Or where, like I said, education, right? We're spending more and more and more on kids, but are they getting better? Are they getting higher grades? Are they reading well? No. So we gotta look at ourselves. People in this room, like, what is happening? Are the Democratic legislators, are they passing the right laws? Do they really care about the district? You know, like, I'll take my experience. Councilman Holden keeps track of every single phone call into the office, and he comes every day that we gotta address every issue, whether it's abandoned car, whether it's graffiti, whether there's a migrant sleeping in the schoolyard or park. We address that. And I think that's why he got the support from both sides, because he cares about the district, he addresses the issues, he fixes them, and he keeps track of every one of them. Now, if your elected is not doing that, or is passing laws that's just crazy, right? Is spending money on places that get no return, then something's very wrong, right? So I'll say this, okay? For electeds, worry about your district, fix your problems, you'll get the support, you can win your seat, win the election. Thank you.
So we're going to go into a lightning round. And these are questions that are based on getting to know our candidates.
We just want you to shout out the answer. We're not going to do it in particular order. If you don't feel like you were heard, say it twice. I don't live here. What's the best restaurant for a date?
Joe's Restaurant.
Phillies.
I like Connolly's Corner. I got to be honest with you.
What's your favorite baseball team?
That's
We better say the Mets.
But is that what you believe? Justin Pricey, support or oppose?
I oppose it.
Supportive.
opposed.
Share your favorite spot to enjoy dessert in the 30th district.
Cookies and cream.
Mango. Means that.
I go to Panapinto, the cakes are incredible.
Should NYPD have a New York City residency requirement for officers?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Where's the best place in the district to enjoy silence?
Oh, any one of our parks. that are in the district? I mean, any one of our parts of it.
Specifically.
Maurice Park.
Jennifer Park.
Mansfield Library.
It's quiet.
Should Rikers be under federal receivership? Yes or no?
No.
Yes.
No.
The best pizza in the district.
Chino's Pizza Express.
I like Elliott Pizza on Elliott Avenue and 80th Street. I don't want to just be picking from that neighborhood. When I just live around the corner, there's phenomenal pizza places around here. I just don't remember
Okay,
the name.
might be. Okay,
What about Phil?
What was it?
Fantastic. This deserves a round of applause. This is the part where we're going to have a cross-candidate question. We're giving each candidate the opportunity to ask a question to one of their fellow candidates. Let's begin with Dermot, followed by Paul, and then Phil.
My question for Paul is, he runs a hockey league in Middle Village called the Middle Village Hockey League. I think its slogan is making Middle Village skate again. He's run that, it's a 501(c)(4). 501(c). He's run it for 3 years. He's out of compliance. He hasn't filed a 990. So nobody knows where the money is going, but he listed on his campaign finance as his employer. Are you getting paid from the money that the residents are giving into that hockey league?
No. So the Middle Village Players Roller Hockey League is a 501(c)(3). I don't know where it's not in compliance. It's 100% in compliance. We do a tax return on it every year.
That's not true. You haven't filed the paperwork in 2.5 years.
That's gonna have to be up for debate because I'm telling you that it might be personally submitted.
I'm sure this report is here.
Yeah, well, that's fine. We'll work that out. So it's a 501(c)(3). It's an active 501(c)(3), the same as the Middle Village property is a 501(c)(4). I activated that, reached out to the IRS myself to get the Middle Village property owners back as a 501(c)(4). The Middle Village Players Roller Hockey League accepts donations from people from outside the neighborhood and recycles it to other kids in the neighborhood. We wound up putting up a scoreboard in the rink. That was a tremendous amount of money. And me and my family personally put in over like $6,000 a year into the Middle Village Players Roller Hockey League. There's a lot of underprivileged kids in that league that actually couldn't afford to play, so we actually give it to them for free. Your friend actually knows about that. So ultimately, like, I love the question. We love the Middle Village Players Roller Hockey League. That's the whole reason why I got into civics. And actually from his friend, is the reason why I decided to get into politics.
You have a 1-minute rebuttal, Dermot?
I don't have anything else to say. The paperwork is available. There's been no paperwork filed on that league. And it's caused a great deal of suspicion in the district because Paul has went around telling different people in different groups the different supports he has on his campaign. From first telling people he had Bob Holden, Vicky Palladino, Vicky Palladino, Joe Adamo endorsed my campaign today. But I'm saying this is what happens in politics, and this is what's dangerous about it. You can't go around and tell people in this side of the room one story, and this side of the room another, and in this side of the room another. For 7 years in the district, and everybody's supporting your campaign. And it's a dangerous message for people who are wanting to participate in the political process that somebody is running who has voted 4 times in his entire adult life and never in this district.
Paul, you're next.
So how do you explain your endorsements for Curtis Sliwa and for campaign for Lee Zeldin and trying to help Brandon Castro get elected as Republican?
Yeah, well, I myself, just like Bob Holden, endorses people that care about the district, that gets things done. And I don't care what's the letter next to them. Right, so I endorse people that really can make a difference. Right, and that's my answer. Right, and for Curtis Lewa, I think he has a track record of supporting people that's best for the district. And I knew him for years, knew him since I was a kid, and I respect the man because he has done so much for the city. So when he said he endorsed me, I'm really honored to get his endorsement.
Who is Bob Holden and Sliwa endorsing?
You have to ask Bob Holden and Sliwa.
That's what endorsements on there.
Right, so that's their choice.
Thank you. Phil?
My question is, for Paul.
Okay.
You said you're going to fix the system, the
Yeah.
city council. Now, how are you gonna do that if you don't participate by voting?
The reason why I don't vote or didn't vote is, because of people like this, like people that are just career politicians that are looking to take advantage of us, and that's the whole reason why I got into it. So after meeting with Dermot, and I seen that his intentions were for the neighborhood, and I'm watching the amount of money that's coming in from Wall Street executives, from developmental companies that have like large scale development projects going on all over the city, all over the world. That's when I decided that we were gonna have to make a choice as a family and actually put ourselves out there and try to run for an election, because his first time card that came out, or his first mail that came out, says your next city council. So that's a situation where he was already ordaining himself to be on the ballot and to the election. So we decided as a family that we were going to take it on with my young kids and my wife involved. And we were going to go out there and put ourselves out there into the public and take on questions like we're taking on tonight. Thankfully, I'm a business owner, or was a business owner, and I've dealt with this in the past. And ultimately, like, to make things better, we're going to lead by example. I get my hands dirty. I dig in the dirt. I make sure that things are done around the neighborhood. When I went to Ridgewood Ride to actually ride with them and see it firsthand, he met with them at Rudy's Bakery and had a pastry with them. So that's going to be the difference between our two approaches. I'm going to be hands-on, and he'll be up in the clouds watching down on us.
I get a rebuttal?
Bill, you have a rebuttal?
No, just answer the question.
I have a rebuttal. It's not your question, but I have a rebuttal. He said a lot about me.
You have 20 seconds.
Special unions are not special interests, and if people want to say they're special interests, then take that. I will represent the workers of this city, because I'm a worker. I'm a worker. Paul lives in the district. He doesn't work. He's a 44-year-old man who bought a $1.5 million mansion in the district.
That's time.
Cash.
That's
And he
time.
doesn't identify.
Thank you.
and he doesn't-
Time.
We're going to go to general public questions.
These are the questions that have come from the audience here tonight. There are still index cards and pens on this side and the other if you would like to add more questions. We are going through them until we're told we're out of time. All right. So our first, absolutely. So our first question, and I'm going to start with Paul. You are elected. What's the first piece of legislation you will be writing, and why is that your top priority?
Okay. Local law 737, 2018, last time taken up by Udonis Rodriguez. It's a small business survival act law. Bob Holden actually endorsed it for a while, and then for some reason he decided to back out of it. It actually allows a lot of the small businesses in the neighborhood to secure long-term leases and receive arbitration afterwards. A lot of small businesses in the neighborhood, when their lease comes up, the landlords give them a take or to leave it approach to their actual to staying in the location. So they can wind up in a situation where they have to move all their resources, all their good things that they've done in the neighborhood to a different location. So usually the tenant winds up taking it, the merchant tenant. So the other issue that they run into as a merchant tenant is that they have to pay escalated real estate taxes, and on top of that, they wind up in a situation where, on top of the escalated real estate taxes, if there's an apartment in the building, they want them to also pay for the electric or the utilities. They did that as well. So it's a take it or leave it on one side and not the other. So being a guy that's coming with grassroots and doesn't have any endorsements, I could actually support the small businesses and the small guys. Thank you.
Phil.
Yeah, there's a company called 9 Dot Energy that's been buying up vacant lots in the whole city and putting in like racks and racks of lithium batteries that right in the middle of residential neighborhoods. One recently was selected in Middle Village, that's across the street from a very large public school. It is also next to a pre-K center and an animal hospital. And there are no answers. They never consulted the community board, never consulted the councilman. My first piece of legislation I will introduce is that these lithium ion power plants must located in commercial areas and non-residential areas. Because there are no known ways to put out these fires. If there's an accident, they would just burn out. We lost 3 houses near YPS 102 3 days ago because the fire involved lithium pipes, and then they just kept burning. The FDMI just let it burn.
Karen.
One of the issues that we have to address, and one of the things that will be a priority for me, is the cost of housing, whether you're renting or you're buying. I want to see it addressed around the city. Now, while there's great opposition, nuanced arguments to the city of yes, I oppose the way it was implemented. I do believe that the only way we can get out of this is to build our way out. And in doing that, I want to make sure that these buildings that are being built in areas that are identified around the city, as practical places to build, are done using union labor. Right now, we have less than 10% of the city buildings that are built using union labor. That makes for shoddy work and dangerous dwellings. We have many of our residents in the city that are working the construction trade. These are jobs. This is a way we can create a tremendous amount of employment, build safe homes, affordable apartments, so that our sons and daughters and our brothers and sisters can live here in place. That is one of the top priorities that has to be addressed in this city. Because we talked earlier about, should we have our police force required to live in the city? If you do something like that, you're strangling the police force. You know how many people cannot afford on city jobs to live inside New York City? One of the ways that we do that is by building our way out and not handicapping a department. If people choose to live in a more affordable place in Long Island, when this is done, they should be allowed to do it. But my legislative priority will be addressing the crushing cost of housing in the city. Thank you.
Bill, you're gonna go first. The race for council can be cutthroat. What is one positive thing you can say about your opponent? You have 30 seconds.
Like the two opponents,
Yes.
well, they know exactly how to attack me and when to attack me. So, I listen to their attacks, so, I know how to defend myself and be a better person. So I always listen to their criticisms.
Say
Right.
one positive thing about your opponent.
Positive. They criticize me. That's a positive thing. Right? That's a positive thing.
Please hold your applause.
I respect both of my opponents as fathers and people in the community. And like, honestly, no matter who wins this, I think that we'll all be working with one another. So even though it might be a little heated up here tonight, I think ultimately, I think our greatest goal should be is that whoever wins, that we keep this seat as a Democrat. And let's hope that we could keep that together. But as parents and having a daughter here, having my son there, and you having your supporters, I don't know if your children are here now, but as family men, I'll take my hands off to them, and God bless you guys for that.
Thank you. I will say something really positive about Phil. Phil comes to this and he presents it exactly how he is. He'll tell you his conservative values. He'll tell you that he's proud of the Curtis Speedwell endorsement. But I recognize that and I admire that. He's not trying to hide behind some facade that he's not. And he's real about it. Phil is a very conservative Democrat. I'm trying to find something nice to say about Paul. So the only thing I can say is a brilliant smoke and mirrors game that he has played. He's been a Republican until October of last year, but he talked about running in a Democratic front, even though he doesn't vote that much. So I respect the game that he's played, but it's a dangerous game. It's a dangerous game to trick voters when voters are looking for genuine, real answers and real leadership. You'll get that with me.
Chairman, I'm deducting 30 seconds for the next question. You have been going over. What is your definition of affordable when we come to affordable housing?
So that's a great question.
90 seconds.
Okay, I've got 90 seconds. One of the ways we address affordable housing is we can address it by building what's called workforce housing. We can do that by working with these so-called special interest labor unions. Labor unions and pension funds can create a system in this city where they invest their pension funds, amounts of that pension funds, which people are working on right now to build workforce housing. We have it in Electricity in Fresh Meadows. We've done it before, and we can do it here again. Working together with workers to build homes or apartments for workers is what will make this a more realistic city for our city workers to stay in. Thank you.
Phil, you have 2 minutes.
So affordability, I think we should start with the education.
Close.
As far as affordability, I think we should start with like the younger generation. I think vocational training is a big part of what we should be pushing for children. The situation that we're running into right now is that kids are coming out of school with college educations that they can't afford, and they're putting themselves behind the eight ball. The path to home ownership and the American dream is completely out of reach for them. So if we do vocational training, they come out of school and they wind up in a program where they could become a unionized worker and they could earn a livable wage. Then they'll be able to afford the housing in the neighborhoods that they want to. So I think it really goes back to, we're going to go right back to the root of everything. I think vocational training has almost been bastardized around everywhere. And like, we have one of the kids in the league that he loves so much that actually his family is first generation immigrants, and they're here. They're trying to make their way for themselves. Another father from the neighborhood, and that's what we actually did at the Middle Village Players Roller Hockey League. One of the dads is actually an airline pilot for Delta. He actually brought him under his wing, and he's got him in a vocational program over at JFK with his child now. He's 13 years old, 14 years old. He's learning how to build airplane engines. He's going to come out of school. He's going to wind up earning over $50,000 a year is what the numbers that they're talking about. And he'll be able to actually, what he's doing it for is to support his family. And that's the most important thing. I'm just here for family values. I'm here for the neighborhood. And actually, I want to live here. When I sold my business, I could have moved anywhere. I could have left the neighborhood. And honestly, I want to be here. That's the only thing I can tell you. I really want to be here. And I'm not going nowhere either. So we're working on it.
Okay, yeah. It gets technical because affordable housing is based on a formula to get an income index, a medium income index, and
Your opinion.
my opinion, right? Well, my opinion is that this is very, very regional district. If you walk a couple blocks away, that number changes drastically in certain directions, right? So, when you apply for affordable housing, unfortunately, they use this one size fits all census data, and they bring in other counties. Like the medium income index here, actually, part of it is come from the Westchester income index or like Bronx, right? And you need to sit down and look at it again. That is a really outdated model. It has to be district specific, even community board specific. You determine that, and what's affordable. Let me try to answer that because you ask 100 people, they're gonna get 100 different answers. Okay, I find if you pay more than a third of your income on rent, that's ridiculous. That's not affordable. Thank you.
Yes or no answer? Dermot, do you support City of Yes?
Yep.
Oh,
No.
No.
Bill. Thank you.
That was easy. I didn't know it was going to be a yes or no. There has been a proposal in Albany to create free transportation, free bus rides from the state center in this area. Mike Gianaris was one of the sponsors of that. What do you think about free transportation? What do you think about buses being free, either here in the district or throughout the city? We'll start with Paul. You have 2 minutes.
I think the MTA has mismanaged a lot of money, so I think that honestly, like the free bus rides, if we could actually, it's not going to work. So we can't have free bus rides and everything be free. I mean, everyone's got to pay their fair share. So during the pandemic, they allowed people to get onto the buses and just get on there. But like, the buses need maintenance, the tracks need maintenance. The MTA, ultimately, we could, audit them and see exactly like where the money is actually going and see like where the fat is that needs to be trimmed over there. And that's the most important thing, but I don't agree with having everyone have free bus rides. I think that, children should have free bus rides to get to school. College students should be able to get free bus rides to go to college. And I think that should be maybe senior citizens as well with to get to doctor's appointments or to get around the city because there's a strain now with the congestion pricing with there's a program called like self-help for seniors that they're able to get to like different doctor's appointments, and that's funded by the city council on discretionary funding. And that's something that, unfortunately, due to congestion pricing, that has limited the amount of rides that these seniors can have. So yes, there should be some situations where the MTA bus ride is free, but ultimately, I think everyone should pay their fair share. Thank you.
Okay, Darcy. 2 minutes.
2 minutes. A blanket proposal of making buses free or transportation free is not going to work because of the amount of revenue that's generated that's needed in that system. We're constantly dipping into other people's pockets to help fill the holes in the MTA. So my quick answer is no, I don't think it should be free for everybody. But if we want to reduce congestion, if we want to reduce the traffic flow in New York City or around the different areas of the borough, we should be able to incentivize city workers or workers, even if they're not in unions, that are traveling to work and using their vehicles by lowering the cost for them. I'll give you an example. Firefighters have told me that it's an congestion pricing fee, which is now used to continue the Second Avenue subway line, which has to happen. But that congestion fee for them adds about $4,000 a year from their budget, from the household budget. Now, we're working people. I'm not rich like Paul. I'm a working person. That's a tremendous amount of money out of a household budget. So if there's a way of incentivizing or crediting our first responders where they can take a bus or a train to work at a reduced cost, I think that addresses several of the issues there. So a blanket free for everybody is just not going to work because of the cost of the maintenance. But we definitely can start giving credits to workers that we need that are traveling in and out of the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Phil.
MTA is a bottomless pit. Every year is deficit, right? So one year, oh, let's do congestion pricing. Guess what? We're still at the budget gap, right?
Yeah.
So every year they're coming up with new ideas. Oh, let's collect it from here. Let's start the congestion pricing in another intersection. Let's start collecting bicycles going into Manhattan. I've heard that before too, right? So nothing is free. Nothing is free. Somebody has to pay for it, but maybe it's not directly, but indirectly, right? So no, I don't believe in this free bus stuff, right? Who's gonna pay? Who's gonna pay for that, right? All right. So nothing is free. Nothing is free. Thank you.
Chairman, will you support parents interested in dual language programs in schools? Mandarin, Spanish, French, how will you engage with the expansion of dual language in District 30?
Absolutely. Are we talking about for the students or the parents?
For the students.
So there's two levels to that question. So I'll take the student part first. Absolutely. No, there should be language expansion across the city, not a blanket way. We focus on the different neighborhoods where those languages need to be prioritized. And we should be doing that. And I hope we're leading in that direction. I'll make sure that continues when I'm on the education committee. But the other part of it is the utilization of our school buildings. Our school buildings, our students are out of them at around 3:30. Those buildings are sitting there. The electricity's on, the lights are on. I used to be a janitor in the school. You're cleaning those buildings, and there's large swaths of that building that are not used during the day or during the evening. We need to have language programs. We need to have a whole variety of adult-geared education to bring the parents into those school buildings. And I say it for this reason, because it's very important. Not only will they be gaining something by the classes in the school in the evening, whether it's English language classes, local language classes, it's bringing the parents into the building where their kids go. And I always identify a school as another room in our homes, even though it's a separate room. It's a room. If our kids know that our parents are going into the school that they go to, they tend to interact in that building in a much more positive way. So yes, our schools should be utilized after school as well for all of these classes for the parents and for students and after school. But the language classes during the day, absolutely fully promote continuing that and expanding that program.
I would love to support the European model. My wife, Amy, she supported languages. Terrific question. So my son speaks Lithuanian, Spanish, and English. And I think that's something in Europe that's very important because every country has a different language, but the root language for most of the countries in Europe is Latin. So Spanish is a huge language in this, especially in this part of the district in Ridgewood. So Spanish is a language that should be in most schools as a second language. The Polish language is picking up steam because there's a heavy Polish population, but ultimately like Mandarin and different Cantonese. I think everyone should feel comfortable to be doing a second language, but I think we should be learning multiple languages in every school. I think it's important for our kids to know how to communicate with other people. When I was younger, we did pen pal programs. I mean, we've lost a lot in the education system. I think that's the biggest problem is like, we've gotten to these core systems and we're like reinventing ways to get to 2 + 2 = 4. And it's confusing a lot of kids. And I think the problem is they're not even at grade level reading level. So with the dual language program, it's expanding their mind. It's giving them another way to use another part of their brain. The same thing exactly with like chess in school and different extracurricular activities. There's so many different things that the councilman could actually support. So you have the discretionary funding at your disposal, and that's actually something that you could do to work with the Greater Ridgewood Youth Council or the Maspeth Town Hall to work on the after-school programs. Like my opponent said, and like get the parents in there, get them engaged as well. And ultimately, like right now, the schools are actually raising the kids. So the kids go to school early in the morning. They're getting their breakfast there, their lunch there. They stay there. They do after-school homework, and then the schools are basically raising the kids at this point. They come home from school. They have a ton of homework, or they have other activities to do, and the parents are, just basically putting them to bed. And it's important for parents and children to engage. That's one of the reasons why we do love the roller hockey sport. The roller hockey sport, I could have chosen any sport for my kids. When I got involved in roller hockey, it was a situation where I have to keep his gear correctly. The wheels got to be changed all the time. I got to make sure that they have their pads on, or they're going to get hurt out there. So with roller hockey, it's a bonding between the parents and the children, and that's the most important thing that we're losing in the community.
Again, I was the president of Community Education Council 24, and during that time, there was a high demand for a English Polish dual language program at PS 153. So back then, I worked with the superintendent, Madeline Chan. We found the space, we found the budget, we hired the right teachers, and it turned out was an extremely successful program. And I must say that if you go to the other side of the district, the demand will be like for Spanish, English, or Chinese English, and we'll have to deal with the principal individually and see the demand. And it always comes down to budget and space, right? If they have the budget, they have the space, but I support it. We should never forget our roots, never forget our home language.
Thank you.
We are down to our final two questions, and we want to just thank the audience for everything that you've submitted to us. If we did not ask your question, we encourage you to send emails to these guys' campaigns.
Absolutely.
Be honest, we could do this all night. We're nerds. We're having a great time, and we really thank the audience. But these are the final two questions, and they're both good ones. So first up, Edinburgh Express and Queenslink are both things that could use existing train tracks in the district. Are these things that are, tell me about each one separately, Edinburgh Express and Queenslink, whether you support it, and give us your thoughts on it, and if you do support it, how would you support it? If you don't support it, how would you fight against it? We'll start with Bill. Thank you.
Yeah. I myself has been the go-to person to answer IDX questions. I have been to several town halls, and I must say this present plan, the plan that I've seen, does not look good, right? And then Ridgewood itself will be heavily impacted. The IDX will go to Ridgewood, and I would not support any parts of the project that involves eminent domain, where they have to seize property, demolish to make room for the stations. I would not support that. That's a deal breaker. And I would not support if the tracks is elevated at 69th Street or travel along Metropolitan Avenue for that mile. That is also a deal breaker. But I think the biggest problem now is cost. The cost per mile now is $392 million per mile. Now, if you follow the Apollo space program, it costs less to go to the moon. Right? And it will cost even less to go to the Mars. That's how ridiculous it is, right? So, no, IBX is right now, I don't think it's gonna happen in our lifetime because there's simply no budget for it, right? Now, for Queenslink also makes sense. The track's already there, but it feels like because it goes through so many communities, some communities love it, some communities want to turn it into the park. So there's no consensus now that we want that train, from Far Rockaway all the way up to Queens. And there are parts of the neighborhood says, no, we want it in the park. So until there's consensus, I don't think it's going anywhere. Thank you.
Okay, next up we'll have Paul.
I actually support the IBX line. The IBX line actually will link over 900,000 people between Brooklyn and Queens, which is a transportation desert for a lot of people. It actually links up with the Long Island Expressway. It links up with a lot of different subway stations that you get all around the city and out to Long Island, up to into Penn Station. So it's beneficial. I would actually examine to see exactly where all the train stations are going to be and see if they're beneficial for the neighborhood. The one that we came across is the one on Elliott Avenue, where you have Our Lady of Hope, which is a house of worship. It's very congested over there. There's people in the neighborhood in Middle Village that are actually talking about trying to get the street turned around because the amount of traffic that's coming up and down the streets already, trying to bypass the main thoroughfare. So that's actually going to increase that. on top of the IBX. I think it's good for the neighborhood. It's like, it's got they have to redesign it a little bit. There's a couple of areas where it's going through the cemetery and you would have to like move a mausoleum and bury bodies and XYZ, but I think ultimately, like, it's actually much better for a lot of people to cut down a commute that would take several hours to cut it down to like 30 minutes to actually get from Jackson Heights, Queens, all the way down to Sunset Park, Brooklyn. The Queens Link. There's another project that actually supersedes the Queens Link, and it's like an air rail system like you have going out through JFK, and that would be on Woodhaven Boulevard. So the Queens Link, if we could go with the other project on Woodhaven Boulevard, I think it would be the same like route pretty much that the Queens Link is looking to take. But actually, I would support more the Queens Way. The Queens Way is actually a park similar to the elevated train tracks in Manhattan. What's the name? Anyone? The High Line. So it would look like the High Line. We already have, full floor and fauna up there. I think it would be much better to, like, for the neighborhood. It'd be green spaces is what we need. I mean, it connects you with nature, it connects you with the community. It gives you something to actually go and do with your family. Many weekends we went to the High Line, and I would love to do that locally in Queens and meet my neighbors and catch up with everyone here.
Thank you. I'll be quick on the IBX because I'm going to agree with both my opponents here. The IBX, it's not going to happen in this lifetime. It's astronomically expensive proposal. And I sometimes think it's a way of distracting from the transit desert that we are. So the quick answer to the IBX, it's just not realistic. There isn't the funding there for it. And it's a logistical nightmare. Now, to go to the Queens Link, so I've met with the two groups. One wants to park in conjunction with revitalizing that train line. I mean, I'm very supportive of the park. I think the park would be an incredible addition. I agree with Paul. More green space is a great idea. The train tracks, the Queens Link, I think can be done, and it's a realistic option where you can do the two of them together, and that's ultimately what one of the organizations wants to do. They want to link them both together. The only major hurdle for there is when it runs through the Woodhaven Regal Park area, it's running very close behind some homes. So we just have to make sure that we're cognizant of the people who live in those areas, and we get them to buy into it by making sure they're not bullshitting, to be perfectly honest. That the system that's put in place for them, where that track and park is going to go through their property or behind their property, if they buy into it. Once we can get that done, I think this is a realistic option. That's something that's on the table and it is being explored, and I would be supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to start with Paul.
That's one.
This is the last one. As a small business owner in Ridgewood, I am required to enter into a contract with a private hauler to remove my trash. Why can't small, non-food related businesses utilize city sanitation?
I think it's budgeting. I think that the budget is overwhelmed, and it's the same situation we're coming up with the NYPD sanitation budget is only like 3% of the entire New York City budget of $114 billion. So they just might be overwhelmed. I mean, it's the same thing that we actually be fighting for in our administration is if we get in there, like we want to add to Ridgewood a lot of garbage cans on the street. A lot of these garbage cans were taken out during COVID, and like a lot of people are worried about like people putting house trash in there. But they have new garbage cans that actually fit like half the amount of the garbage in there, so people can just put like a garbage bag inside of it. And then you have the bids districts as well. So like the business improvement districts is one on Myrtle Avenue, and that's actually a feasible option for a lot of small businesses. I mean, it'll be great for every small business, but then who's going to actually take the time to go through every small business to make sure that they're not processing food or different things that they're discarding. So the private sanitation at this point, even with the bid districts, is the way that they go with it. And I think the issue is that the DSNY is overwhelmed with the amount of garbage and then the snow removal and the amount of overtime that we're putting into that. So I think that's the true issue of like why private sanitation is needed in the area. The other issue with private sanitation though is the actual train tracks that are going through everyone's yards in the area. So a lot of times over the weekends after they dump all the trucks all week, a lot of these the train tracks behind everyone's house going down Lutheran Avenue, coming into Glendale. The garbage is left in these train tracks the whole weekend, and then you get into a situation where you have the rat problem, which is also like increasing as well. And that's probably another issue as well. We have a huge rat problem all over the city, so that's why we have the new garbage cans. And I think with the expedition of the private sanitation actually helps out with like mitigating the rat situation, because like if you're waiting 2 or 3 days for a personal garbage pickup, you can wind up with organic waste that's actually getting intaken by pests and rodents. Thank you.
I think private small businesses should have a choice. You cannot just, here's the one carting company, you have to deal with them, you don't have a choice. Back in the 80s, anyone who around, there were a lot of these issues that led to corruption, a lot of gang related issues. But I was around, I heard these horror stories. So this is a very bad system. And it really, the new mayor, the new city council would really have to look at this, and it's creating more problems, not fixing anything, right? So I'm against it, right? But it's fine, you gotta take the trash away. But to answer, why cannot the DSNY take over? I think the mayor is gonna privatize sanitation, right? And get rid of DSNY. That's my prediction, but I hope I'm wrong, because it has even more problems when you do that. But again, the small business should have a choice, and then they should choose who are they comfortable with, and not assigned to a carting company that and it's like a forced marriage. It's not going to work.
Thank you. I'm actually supportive of expanding the sanitation department into the private sector. I don't think anybody removes our garbage in a safer, more efficient way than the New York City Department of Sanitation. So if it's an area that can be explored with them, with that agency, I'm all for it, and I'll work alongside them to do it. The issue where it becomes is in residential areas, like everything is complex, right? In residential areas, there's certain days of the week that are sanitation days picked up. That has to then be linked in. How do we link that in with the businesses? But I believe the sanitation department can do it. I think they'd be excited to expand, and our neighborhoods would be cleaner because nobody does it better. No private company does it anything closer than the New York Sanitation Department. So I would be enthusiastic support of exploring.
Thank you very much. At this point, I want to just ask the audience a lightning question. Who in this room lives in the 30th district? Raise your hand.
Gentlemen, these are the people that you need to be talking to once we close up.
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. I want to thank our community. June 24th. June 24th is primary day, not for test to vote, and early voting is also 2 weeks prior to. There is no excuse for not voting. Thank you so much.
Noella.
I also want to acknowledge there's some civic associations that were here, as well as Indivisible. Jane, thank you for your support. You guys can put those around.
But we are based on this. We're actually outside of the.
We're calling the number.
Oh, wait.
Thanks.
Okay.